The Apple Watch Ultra turns 3 in September of this year, and I've been wearing one for more than 2 years now. I've also worn an Apple Watch almost every day for more than 6 years now in total, so I have quite a lot of experience with it. So let's have another look at the Ultra, see how it has held up, how it compares to the other options that are out there, and whether I would recommend it if you're trying to decide on the right Apple Watch for you right now. Okay, so first up, let me give you a short conclusion if you just want to hear that so I can save you some time. This is a great Apple Watch, and if you compare the technical aspects, this is objectively the best Apple Watch you can buy right now. If you're interested in it and you like the look of it, or maybe you also do some extreme sports that require some extra durability, I think this is a great Apple Watch to buy and you will probably be happy with it. Between this and the Series 10 in titanium, it is for sure a better value because it's not much more expensive but has quite a lot more features. Personally, I prefer the look of the regular Apple Watch though, and the extra features of the Ultra don't really make it a better watch, at least for my use case. So you will definitely have to decide whether the extra features of the Ultra will actually make a difference for you personally, and I will talk more in detail about that in a later part of the video. To be honest, for most people, if you don't really love the look of the Apple Watch Ultra or do some extreme sports, I would actually recommend the Apple Watch Series 10 in aluminum over this one, just because it's a much better value and it does pretty much the same things that the Apple Watch Ultra does as well. And it also looks a little bit better if you ask me at least. Okay, so before we go into more detail on the differences between the Apple Watch Ultra and the normal Apple Watches, let's quickly talk about why you would actually want to use an Apple Watch. For me personally, I would always wear a watch because I really like having a wristwatch just to be able to conveniently tell the time. And the Apple Watch provides 3 key functions that are really convenient to have beyond a normal watch. It's a really nice way to have a quick look at the temperature, it's a really easy way to set timers, and it's really good for fitness tracking. For the fitness tracking, I don't go too deep into it personally, but I really like the red ring, and I also really like to have a look at it sometimes during my workouts just to see my pulse, see the time, and so on. The red ring on the Apple Watch basically just tells you the amount of calories that you have burned just through moving in one day, and it is a great way for me to tell me how much I've been moving in a day, and in the evening if I should maybe go for another walk just to maybe fill up the red ring a bit more. That also means though that there are a lot of Apple Watch functions that I don't really use, and a lot of use cases where I don't use the Apple Watch for. For example, I almost never use it to reply to messages or open apps or pretty much anything that would require me to interact with the watch for a longer time. It's nice to have, but it's almost always more convenient to use your phone instead. I also don't really use sleep tracking either. I don't really like wearing my watch to bed. I think it's kind of uncomfortable, and also while the stats are kind of nice to have, it's also nice to just rely on your own perception of how well you slept instead of using a fitness tracker to tell you, and then maybe, I don't know, there's like an instance where you felt like you slept great and then you look at your watch, it tells you you had like a bad night of sleep, and then you will just feel worse about it for no reason. For me, this makes the Apple Watch a great watch to use, but mostly just like a regular watch with some extra functionality on top. That also means that I usually get like a lot of longevity out of my Apple Watches because the new features usually don't really improve on any of the things that I use my Apple Watch for. So before you try to decide which Apple Watch to buy, I would really recommend you to think about what you would actually want to use it for every day. For example, the sleep tracking is really nice, but at the same time, do you actually want to wear your watch to bed every night? For me at least, many of the new features that have been added in recent years were just some things that I tried out for a couple of days and then never really got back to. And this also goes for a really common mistake that I see. There are a lot of really nice Apple Watch ads focused on fitness, and of course that is a really big use case, but please don't fall into the trap of thinking that just having an Apple Watch will make you magically hit all of your fitness goals. It's maybe like a 5% boost on top of whatever motivation you already have, but it won't help you change like all of your habits magically from one day to another. Alright, so let's talk differences between the Apple Watch Ultra and the regular Apple Watch. And of course, the biggest difference by far is the design. It is quite a bit thicker, and it also has a flat display instead of the curved display on the Apple Watch Series 10. It also has an additional button on one side that you can kind of personalize based on what you would like to use it for. For mine, I've decided to open the Workouts app just because that is the app that I most frequently use on the Apple Watch. It also has some added protection around the crown and the side button, and it's made of titanium, although now it's also available on the Series 10 if you opt for the higher end version. Beyond the physical design, there are also some other improvements that you get on the Ultra beyond the regular Apple Watch. First up, you get a siren, which of course is really crucial to have. You also get a bit of a brighter display. It's 3000 nits versus 2000 nits, and it might seem like a big difference, but it's actually not because of the way the scale works for nits. That means that like 3000 versus 2000 nits is not the same difference as 2000 nits to 1000 nits and so on. You also get better water resistance and higher durability. It even hits like some military standards. You also get a better GPS and double the battery life pretty much. Then there's also sapphire glass, which on the Series 10 you only get when you buy the titanium version, and there's a better microphone. So all in all, if you compare it on pretty much any objective aspects, it's a better Apple Watch than the Series 10. So just in terms of the value, if you compare it to the Series 10 in titanium, I would say this is actually a better deal. I'm just not sure if it's actually a better watch. Okay, so reviewing this is actually quite hard because I think a watch is a very personal item and a lot of it depends on your taste. I have to say right up front, I personally prefer the look of the Series 10 because I think it's better to wear as like a nice watch in more formal occasions. It's also much thinner and it even has like a slightly bigger display now than the Ultra. Don't get me wrong, the Ultra is better in pretty much every way. I'm just not sure if it actually matters to me. For example, the durability. It's really nice to have the extra waterproofing and like military ratings, but it's not something that I've ever used. The sapphire glass is the only durability upgrade I care about, and that's also on the Series 10 if you get the titanium version. That being said though, the sapphire glass is really good. I mean, just look at my Ultra, it has like no scratches on it even after more than 2 years. And here's my Series 4 that I've been wearing for like 4 years, and it looks like really bad, totally scratched up, and I've been wearing them both in like the same way. I haven't been any better to the Ultra or haven't taken more care of it. The added battery life of course is really nice to have as well, but it's also a bit weird to me. I mean, what difference does it make if you have to charge your watch every night or like every second night? It would only be like a big game changer for me if it would make it into like a once a week time thing. Of course, this might be more important when you use sleep tracking because you get more flexibility, you have more choice of like kind of when to charge your watch, and you can also get away with not charging it for an entire day. And it also might be good for longevity because like my watch often charges only to 80% automatically, which should make the battery last longer, and I wouldn't be able to do that probably on the Series 10. But I think those are very minor upgrades and don't really justify the much thicker case just because of the battery. The flat display is also easier to read, especially outside, but I think it looks much worse and it's also much more uncomfortable to use since every time you want to swipe up you feel this hard edge from the bottom, which on the like regular Series 10 feels really good because it's a curved display. Also, it's supposed to be like the biggest Apple Watch, but the Series 10 display is actually slightly bigger. It's not a huge difference, but still it's kind of funny to me. And the brightness on the display, to be honest, isn't really a big deal if you ask me. Even before with my Series 4, which has like much lower brightness compared to all of these, I was fine. Like I never really had a problem with reading the watch outside. Also, I think just more generally, the design of the Apple Watch Ultra makes it worse to use in everyday life compared to like the regular Apple Watch. The crown protection means that sometimes it's just more awkward and feels worse to kind of turn the crown compared to the Series 10 where it's just like the crown and no like bulking thing around it. And also the thickness makes it much easier to bump into things. It doesn't seem like it's a big difference, but it's like twice the thickness, and that means that I bump into door frames or stuff like that much more often. And the extra button is really nice. As I said, I use it to open the workouts app, but honestly I don't think I would actually miss it if it was gone. When the Ultra first came out, I was really hyped about it because it looked great. I really liked this like outdoorsy aspect of it, and I was just really stoked to try it out. Now, after having used it for quite a while, I would say it was a bit disappointing for me. It's just worse it being like a good watch than the Apple Watch Series 10. And I think like it doesn't add a lot of functionality for me personally beyond the normal Apple Watch. Of course, if you do a lot of extreme sports and use the Ultra for what it was, I guess, actually designed for, then this might be different, but I would think that like 99% of Ultra buyers do not push it to its limits and they just like the look of it, which is fine if you do, but especially in more formal occasions, the normal Apple Watch just looks sleeker and nicer. So who is it actually for? To me, there are 3 types of people that I would recommend the Ultra to. First up, of course, if you do extreme sports and you actually need the extra durability of the Apple Watch Ultra, this is a no-brainer for you. Second, if you struggle with your Apple Watch's battery life very often and you know that you need more battery life, then of course it's also a no-brainer. And thirdly, if you just prefer the look of it and maybe you tried on both in the store and you just like the look of the Ultra more, then of course it's a great choice as well. For everyone else though, I'm not sure if I can actually recommend it. Instead, if it's your first Apple Watch, I would actually recommend the Aluminium Series 10. It's a really nice watch. It's a great upgrade over the Apple Watch SE, and I think it's a great way to actually try how you like having an Apple Watch. If you already have an Apple Watch and you want to upgrade, I would also get the Series 10, but if you can afford it and you want a bit more durability and longevity, I would get it in titanium for the nicer glass and also the better look. For everyday use like the stuff I've described before, there's currently nothing that would make me recommend you an Ultra over a Series 10 other than if you like the look of it more. So in the end, it's kind of more of a style choice than anything else. I had really high hopes for the Ultra. It was a little bit disappointing to me, but of course it's a really great watch. It's just, to me, not better enough to justify the thickness and also the added price. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions about using the Ultra or like deciding between the different watches, just let me know in the comments. Other than that, I will see you next week.